right. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the Platform Academy. We are thrilled to kick off this session right here at the top of the hour. My name is Sharon Barnes, your Platform Outbound Product Manager and today's hosts. And we have an incredible session lined up for us today. I can't wait for us to dive in. We might share some new features today, so let's keep everything compliant with those safe harbor best practices. Now let's get into the good stuff. I am thrilled to present our fantastic speakers, Stav and Samantha, who are going to take us on a journey through user insights with user experience analytics.
Thank you very much, Sharon. I'll start. Thank you everyone for joining. It's very exciting. My name is Tab, and I'm a product manager for the user experience analytics team, joining you today from Tel Aviv, Israel.
Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha. I'm an outbound product manager, and I'm joining from California. Our topic today is next-gen usage insights with our product user experience analytics. In this Academy session, we'll provide an overview of user experience analytics, describing what it is and when you should use it. I'll also cover the data architecture and the product evolution since it was first released. Then we'll go over key features, and Stav will present a live demo of the dashboard and show you how to integrate user experience analytics with your custom platform analytics dashboards. Finally, we'll give you a sneak peek of what's new in Zurich. So user experience analytics, or as you're going to hear me say over and over again today, UXA, it tracks how users interact with ServiceNow, giving you insight on user behavior to better understand how work gets done on the platform. Usage data is collected in your Next experience, core UI, portal, and mobile applications. And it's a core platform feature, meaning you don't need any specific licensing in order to access it. So let me expand on what I mean when I say UXA gives you insight on how work gets done on the platform. UXA can help you answer common behavioral questions and address common business challenges. At a basic level, UXA tracks if your users are accessing your application, and if so, who those users are and how long their sessions are. It collects data on how frequently your users engage with the application and what they're engaging with. And it also tracks how many users return and how often they return. In addition, you'll be able to see how long it takes different application pages to load so you can identify potential performance bottlenecks. Armed with this data, you'll get insight into whether your users interact with your application as you designed it, and if the features you've implemented are adding value or causing confusion. User experience analytics is just one of the tools we offer in ServiceNow to collect and analyze data. But unlike traditional table queries that analyze current records in real time or performance indicators that measure aggregated snapshots of those records, UXA focuses on the application engagement layer, meaning data is collected even when traditional records are not created or updated. It records things like page views, clicks, and searches to help us understand application adoption and user engagement. Today, many of our customers look to UXA to better understand how their requesters are engaging with ServiceNow portals, though we believe it's equally important to pay attention to the design of your agent experiences too. User experience analytics has a unique architecture within ServiceNow, where data is stored in regional repositories outside of the instance. This design ensures that UXA data does not consume storage or table space and does not impact the performance of your instance. UXA gathers data from various platform interfaces, including mobile applications via the mobile SDK and web-based applications via the web SDK. The collected data is securely stored in regional repositories across America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. A query service retrieves and processes the data for further analysis. Then the processed data can be surfaced through two main channels: the User Experience Analytics dashboard, where you can select which mobile or web application you want to analyze, or specialized sources. UXA data can be used as a data source in custom platform analytics dashboards or visualizations in your Next Experience application. In addition, in Zurich, we're releasing the Page Analytics Overlay panel, and we're going to elaborate more on that later in the session. Before we dive into key features, let's talk about the history of this application. Many of you have heard of UXA prior to today, but what you may not know is that with the Yokohama release, UXA underwent a large replatforming effort based on feedback from customers like you. The new platform is much more performant and built to scale. As a result, we're now able to give customers access to up to 2 years of raw usage data. In the past, detailed data was only available for 90 days, and then it was only given to you in aggregate. We also completely revamped the UXA dashboard interface to simplify navigation and make exploring the dashboard more intuitive. And Stav is giving you a demo of that portion of it. Finally, with Yokohama, we enhanced filtering capabilities, a huge request from every customer we talked to before we release Yokohama. You can now add and filter visualizations by custom user properties, and you can filter by event properties. So for instance, say you have a custom office location field on your SIS user table. You can now add a custom user property that you can filter on specific to that office location. And filtering by event properties unlocks the ability to analyze the usage of specific catalog items or knowledge articles, for example. Again, Stav is going to demo what we're releasing in Zurich today, so we will get into that a little bit later. So now for the key features. I'm just going to present a couple of slides before we go into the demo, but we do want to highlight here end user consent management. So your organization at the admin and developer level and your end users both have control over what gets tracked in UXA. Admins and application developers can choose whether or not UXA is enabled for a given application, and admins can configure consent policies by location. Out of the box, we have 5 different consent policies that can be assigned at the country level. The default consent policy is no consent required. This means that end users are not shown a notice or opt-in message when they first log into an application. They're just automatically tracked. We also have an option to display a notice. With this consent policy, a statement is displayed in a modal window notifying the user that their activity is tracked. The user only has an option to accept this notice. We also have an explicit opt-in consent policy. This is what you're seeing on the screenshot here on the slide. It's an opt-in message with options to accept or opt out in the modal window directly. And this is what is flashed when a user first logs into the application. Finally, we also have an option for basic tracking where data is collected only in aggregate and cannot be mapped back to individual users, and an option to disable UXA for specific countries while allowing tracking for others. As I mentioned, a consent policy is assigned to a country, but admins have full flexibility on how the system detects a user's location or country. The default is by GeoIP address, but you can also configure it to look at the country defined in the SIS user table or use a script with your desired method. Regardless of a location's assigned consent policy, end users have the ability to adjust their tracking settings in their user preferences. And before we dive into the demo, we just want to show you the related roles that come with user experience analytics. There are basically 2 umbrella roles, the analytics admin and the analytics viewer. Admins have the right to assign consent policies and adjust the user experience analytics settings, in addition to everything that a viewer can do. The viewers can look at the UXA dashboard, and they can create cohorts and funnels within the dashboard. Under these umbrellas, you can assign roles more granularly to restrict admins or viewers to specific user interfaces like mobile or web. And with that, I am going to pass it over to Stav to give a demo.
Great, so let's start our demo. So first, we are accessing user experience analytics. So user experience analytics will be under all menu. And once you start typing user experience analytics, you will find it under platform analytics module. It is important to mention that our settings is to see our settings, you need to type UX analytics. We don't have enough space to include user experience analytics, but our settings is here. As Samantha mentioned, if you want to change the consent policy to detection policy provider, this is all here. So let's go into the dashboard. I'm clicking on user experience analytics. And once I'm clicking on user experience analytics, I will land on the cross application view. It means that I will see first the aggregated metrics for all the application within my instance. So in my case, I have 14 applications, and I can see the aggregated metrics, how many unique users I have, how many sessions I have for all of my application, and also the average session duration. On our session, we will focus on a service portal, but I will say that the experience for each other channel application, it's pretty much the same. So it doesn't matter. I guess some of you and most of you are interested in portals, so this is why we are going to focus on this. On the top, we have our filters. Default date range is last 30 days. This is set as UTC time. You can also adjust the date range to change it to a custom range or absolute dates that you will like. And you also have another filters here on the top. Starting the Yokohama release, what we did is that we are out of the box syncing two user properties, department and role. But as Samantha mentioned in the beginning of the session, you can easily configure another user properties. We added a link for explaining that, but I would say that it is easily done using Sys Analytics user property config. You can add user properties from users table, user group table that are fields that are reference fields or Boolean fields. So with that, let's actually dive into a single application view. And this is where we are going to be focused on our session. So as I said, first thing I will see is the overview page for Service Portal. What we can see here is total active users. Total active users is unique users. If a user enters to this application on two different, let's say, two different devices, we will still count him once. We know how to do it. Also, we have new users. New user is a user that performed his first session during this time period. In my case, last 30 days. Also, we have the average session per user, total sessions. A session starts with the first interaction that we have with the application, in our case, a service portal, and ends after 30 minutes of inactivity or 4 hours of continuous activity. This is where we cut the session. And this is, somebody asked that before, and this is when the data will be updated. The counters and the data that you see in the dashboard will be updated. Also, we can see here the average page per session and average session duration. I will say also that both of this section, whenever this is clickable, this means that you can actually drill down. On the bottom here, we can see the top pages that was viewed on the application. In general, our dashboard is out-of-the-box dashboard, and we divide it into two parts. First part is our data foundations, users, sessions, events, and pages. We will demo everything, of course. And we have the advanced analysis part, which is the retention section and also the advanced reports. So let's start with users. So as we mentioned, total unique users within this time period. Also, we can find here the active users trend analysis, and you can change aggregation to see it in daily, weekly, and monthly view. And whenever you see this download button, it means the data can be exported. You can export it into a CSV. Also, we have here the active users breakdown analysis. Here we can see the distribution of users within a service portal, and we can have a stack by view. Here we can see the active users breakdown group by country and stack by department. Below we see the list of users, and it is super important to highlight that most likely once you will go into your application, you will see different number between total active users and users list. The reason is because this list only presents users that opted in for tracking. Users that did not agree to be tracked, we are only updating the counters, but we are not presenting any users details or user journeys or session details. In general, we are hashing the user identity. It is not revealed at all. You can guess this is, of course, from privacy reasons. Another cool thing that you can do in a user's object is our advanced filters. We can ask the question, how many users have meeting a certain criteria? And let's select and see which criteria we can add. Of course, each filter that if I will add a lot of filters, I will want to save it. So this is also available for us. So I can ask the questions, how many users from the US that are using, how many users I have from the US that are using a Chrome browser, for example, and I want to see how many users I have from US that are using Chrome browser and that actually performed the event of order catalog item request. We will talk about events, but let's try to answer this question. I will apply it, and then I will get the number of unique users that actually meeting this criteria. And of course, I got also the breakdown, and the entire dashboard changes. The coolest thing that I can actually do is if I want to drill down into the session and check the session itself that meets those criteria, this is something that I can also do and explore more on that. I will let it load just for a second so you will see how the session timeline looks. So this is all the actions that were performed during the session. So I can explore more. Let's move on into the sessions data object. So we have also our sessions data object. Those are pretty similar. We are offering the same things. Here also we have the session breakdown, the session trend. You can download it. And we can see a stack by view. Let's now change it group by country and stack by a browser or hourly usage. Wow, that's beautiful. Also, we have the sessions list that we can drill down and explore sessions, well, like we saw before. And the same thing that we did with users, we can ask the questions, in how many sessions did something happen? So I can create basically the same query, how many sessions I have from the US, that was triggered from Chrome browser, and that, I'm not sure if that was the event, but let's assume it is. So how many users I have from the US that are using a Chrome browser and performed the event of submit record producer request. So I have 49 sessions with that criteria, and I'm getting the view for the entire page based on these advanced filters. So let's move on into pages, and then we will touch events. So pages, actually, those are the page within the application. Pages are tracked automatically. You don't need to do anything, and it will be correlated to the pages list within your list of pages in the platform. And you can see the pages that are viewed the most. This is like the order that we are offering. And let's click, for example, on the home page, and we will see the related metrics that we are offering here. So in pages, we have the number of page views, the number of time this page was viewed. Also, how many individual users, unique users have viewed this page. What was the time that users have spent in average on this page? We also have in how many sessions this page was viewed. Of course, we can add filters. We don't have the advanced filters here, but we do have filters that we are offering here. And we also have our performance section. So performance section contains performance metrics, which are page load time, browser time, network time, and server time. We can switch to see other data. And you can also change aggregation, but it is super important to highlight that this performance section is not based on all the data points, all the page views that you are seeing here. It is between 5% to 10% of the data. Based on that, you also have the average load time that you can find here. Also, what you can see here is the previous navigation and next navigation. It means from the page that we selected, the home page, where people came from and to where they are actually navigating after this page. I would say this is a mock data, so maybe we will not see that interesting stuff, but in our case, we see that most of the users are coming to the homepage from the starting of the session, which is actually makes sense. And most of them are coming to the homepage. Afterwards, they are ending the session, and then they are visiting the knowledge base page. Also, something that we can see is the top events that are triggered within this page. Within the home page, we can see the most popular page events are page load time, successful login, which makes sense, and also initiating a search. Another thing to mention and this is super important, is the events. So events basically are the actions that are triggered within the application. And we do understand that companies differ from one another. We are offering a lot of out-of-the-box event, but you actually have the freedom to instrument events that you want to measure. We offer many out-of-the-box events, but sometimes, for example, you are adding a new widget and you want to measure the usage or the where people navigate from it. This is something that you can add specifically for your events list. So let's dive into specific events and we will see the metrics there. So the events metrics that we are offering, by the way, I selected the view knowledge article event, which is the event of reading a KB within this service portal. And what we can see here is first the total occurrences, number of times this event was triggered, and also by how many users it was triggered. And we have also the trend. But I would say that the real richness is not in the occurrences and not in the active users that actually trigger this, is coming on the properties. In our case, in View Knowledge article, we can see that the article title is something that we can learn a lot, because actually you can see which article is viewed the most. For our example, and we can see that getting around Windows is the most viewed KB, and afterwards we have this KB, and also create an email signature KB. We can see also distribution of other properties here. And something we got from customers for a long time was the question, okay, I can see the distribution here, and this is nice, but I want to explore specifically on a single article title. I don't care about all these articles. So something that we added during Yokohama release is the ability to actually filter by event property. So in our example, what we did is to the filters, we added the property themselves. And let's take an example. So I'm adding article title as my filter, and I want to explore more on create an email signature. This is my third most viewed KB article, and I want to explore more on that. So once I apply it, imagine I had like a lot of languages here. So I could really see in what language they read this article, from which page it is triggered, for example, and also total occurrences and active users. And of course, that on top of that, you can add a lot of more filters, for example, country filters. For example, you want to see this view only among users from France. This is possible. And once I filter it, all of my properties gets updated. So this is regarding events. We also added useful links for you, how to instrument events if you want to measure something else, which is not part of our out-of-the-box events. I will pause here again. I want to see if there are any questions.
There was a question on the user IDs of the users since we are hashing them, and one of the users wanted to see if there is a way to map it back to the actual user.
There is a way. We can send some guidance. Basically, it is using the user properties that I mentioned earlier. But everyone that wants to do it, we can give instructions. But I would say this is not our default. And also, they need to consult their privacy team. And only after they did it, this is something that we can instruct them. There is a way, but it is not out of the box. Any other questions before we are moving on to our advanced analysis part?
We do have one question. Can you please show us how to export the data? So if you want to just highlight the icon to do that.
Sure. Yes. For example, here I exported the data, the user's data, and then I got it as a file. I opened it. You can see the Excel, right?
Yep. Yes. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay, great. Maybe it's worth adding that for the active users breakdown, it is also possible to save it as a PNG or a JPEG if you want. Okay, I will move on into our advanced analysis. So now that we understood all the foundations, we can jump into our next part, which is, like I said, the advanced analysis part. Let me change here the date range because we didn't have any new users, so it's not that interesting. No, I'll change it. I think here we have data. Okay, great. So what we are seeing here is our retention and session frequency section. And we can learn a lot from that. First, we see again the metric of new users. Like I said, this is the users that performed their first session into this date range. We also have the percentage of users that never returned to the application, meaning that they performed one session, but they never returned after this session. Also, we have the percentage of users that returned after a week and the time they took for the user in average to perform their first session. We also have two other metrics here, which are average weekly session per user and average time between sessions up to the 8th session. Also, we offer here out of the box the retention cohorts. In general, cohorts chart enables you to explore how often users return to the application and performed a certain action. In our case, retention cohorts help us understand how often it took to users to return after their first session. And let's really learn how to approach it. So we need to understand, by the way, I can change aggregation to weekly, daily, and monthly view. Our default is a weekly view. So this is what I'm going to demonstrate. So here you can see, look at this chart that from March 21st, by the way, weeks start from Monday every time. So the week that starts on March 21st, we had almost 12K users. During this first week that starts in March 21st, 52% of them returned to the application during this first week. After 1 week, 83% returned to the application, and similar number we have also on the second week. You can also change it to numeric view, and we can read it as well. Let's read the last line here. So on the week that starts on April 28th, we have total user almost 2,100, a bit more, sorry. And during the first week, only 177 returned to the application. This is regarding the retention cohort. And similar to this, you can create your own cohort. I will delete it so we can create it again. So great. How we are going to create a cohort. So I'm going to create a cohort of users that actually reading KB after their first session. Actually, for us, it means that this is users that started their first session and then came back and triggered the event of KB view. So I will call it reading a KB after first session. I'm clicking on next. And because I want the population, my population, to be users that started their first session, this is going to be my selection, but you can select whatever you want among your population. For example, users that visited a specific page, users that triggered a certain event, or taking into account all the users, because started any sessions, it's all the users. So I want to select started their first session, and the events that we will explore is a view knowledge article. I'll change the date range. Sorry, I think it was April before. Okay. So again, on the first column, what we will see is how many new users we have. We are getting the same number. So on March 21st, we had almost 12K new users. And among those users, 35% of them actually returned to the application and triggered the event of view knowledge article. This is what it means. And we can here again change it to a numeric view. Another advanced report that we are offering is our funnels. So funnels actually allows us to explore specific flow and see overall conversion rate. Also, what you can see is how many users, numbers of users that completed the flow, and how many users moved from one step to another. So let's create, again, I'm doing a spoiler here, so sorry. So we will have our search, funnel. So again, I need to select steps, and we will create a search funnel where that actually says how many users successfully logged into the application, initiated a search, and how many of them actually clicked on the first suggestion from the search. This is the funnel that I would like to measure. So I will start to creating it. So first event will be the successful login. Next event, and of course you can do anything. You can select view page. It's pretty much the same. Next event will be initiate search. Initiate search, and the next event we will select search result selected. And here I want to match it by property. I want the rank to be first, the first option. I will click on add. It takes a few seconds to load. And here I see the completion rate for this funnel. It means that almost 30% of the user actually clicked on the first selection. Also, I have here the total users that entered the funnel and how many of them completed the funnel. Also, I can see the time it took between steps and the number of users that moved from one step to another, and how many of them did not move from one step to another. So let's jump into the last visualization that we have. So we have our navigation path. This is another page-related feature that actually enables you to track users' journey through the application between pages. So basically here, each page represents, each circle represents a page. And you can explore navigation. Again, because this is a mock data, maybe we will not see that interesting journeys here. But what I can tell you is that you can change the starting point. If you don't want the starting point to be the session start, which is the starting of the navigation, we can change it to be any page you would like. For example, the catalog homepage, the entire navigation changes, and then we can see a percentage, how many users actually moved from catalog home to a catalog item page, to request page. Once you over the circle, you can see the visits on this path and the percentages, and you can also visit and over the connection between two pages. It will help you to understand how many navigations in total you had between these two, let's say, pages or circles, whatever you want to call it. And so I'll pause here to see whether you have any questions that relates to the dashboard. Okay, if we don't have, then we will jump into our next part, which talks about actually our specialized source. Like Samantha mentioned before, there are actually two ways to consume a UXA dashboard or UXA metrics, let's say. We have the dashboard that we just saw, and we also have our specialized sources. One source is around the platform analytics. And just to provide a bit of a background of platform analytics, so starting the Tokyo release, we exposed user experience analytics data source into platform analytics. Maybe I will actually open it so you can see that. Just a second. Okay. Let me refresh my page so we can see the metrics here. Great. So like I mentioned before, starting Tokyo release, we exposed our data source into platform analytics. We understood the need for ServiceNow users to actually create dashboards, but not using a user experience analytics dashboard. Like I said, our dashboard is out of the box. You cannot customize it. But here on platform analytics, you can actually use our data source, the data objects that we just saw here, these data foundations, and create a metrics that you want. And you can also mix it with other sources like tables, like indicators. This is something that you can combine within your dashboard. So let's actually see how you can configure it. So before our call, before this session, I created this usage dashboard. This dashboard contains only UXA metrics. You can see on the top which metrics I configured. It is pretty easy. I will show you how to do it. I'm clicking on Add New Element, Data Visualization, New Visualization. And then what I need to do is actually select a type of visualization. Let's keep a single score. And actually, this previous release, in the release, we exposed all of our data objects. Up until Y release, we exposed only users, session, and events, in case some of you has previous version, which I guess this is most of you. But on Z release, you will also see pages. So let's configure actually a pages metrics. So for example, I want to see the list of pages from a service portal. By the way, this is different instance, so we will see different data. And I want to see the number of page views, for example, for the on page. On top of that, I can also add more conditions. For example, if I want to add a user type of new users. So the questions that we are going to answer here is how many page views I have in my service portal for catalog item page among new users. I will click on it and I will not have any interesting numbers. So let me change the dates here. Great. So you see the number here, and you can, of course, change the visualization type. For example, I want to see this visualization. So this is possible. I can change it, and then it is easily configured. And like I said, what you can do is also add another metrics that relates to tables, data, to indicators. All of it is available for you. Another thing that I wanted to share that relates to our changes in Z is regarding filters. So basically what we saw before, actually the user type that I selected new users, this is specifically for this metric, for the page views metric that we are seeing here. But if I want to see actually and apply filter for all the metrics here, this is a capability that we added on Z release. So what you can do is click on add new element and click on new filter, new filter, and then clicking on add source. Once you click on add source, you will need to select user experience analytics. I will say that the meaning is that if you are combining more visualization that are not UXA metrics, it will not get updated for you by this filter. Let's select our country filter, for example. Let me save what I created. I will exit editing mode and I will apply the filter. Like I said, because all of my metrics are user experience analytics metrics, all of them will get updated. And so if I want to see a segmented view for Italy, for example, I'm applying this filter and then I see the number that are changes here. Of course, I can change it to India as well, and the numbers will get updated. What we also added is the ability to drill down once you see some clickable options. If you click on a specific metric, it will redirect you to UXA dashboard, and you can explore more. Last thing that I want to mention, and I hope you are still with me, is around page analytics overlay, and we will do it real quick. So in the Z release, we introduced a new page analytics panel that actually it gives customers direct insights from the application pages without needing to go back and forth into UXA dashboard. Over the years, what we understood that many customers have emphasized the importance of page level metrics, but sometimes they struggled even to find the page ID that they wanted to explore. And this is essential information that is needed to explore page metrics. And to address this, we made these insights more accessible. So let's see how it looks. So it is available for you on UXF and Workspaces pages, and also on portals. For UXF pages, this is how it looks. I'll pin it. And as you can see, you have pretty comprehensive metrics that we also saw on the dashboard. We have the number of page views, number of users that view this page, the average time they spend for this page, and also the average load time, and top 5 events that were triggered within this page. And you have the ability again to analyze with user experience analytics. So maybe I will also show you how it looks on portals. It's pretty much the same. I'll change it here. So on portals, it looks pretty much the same. It's just that we are triggering it from a different icon. We will trigger it from here, open analytics window, and it will load this metrics for you. And as you can see, you can also analyze and explore more in the dashboard. So with that, we finished the session. We also have a slide regarding Z changes. This is super important in case you have prior versions. And I'll see if we have any questions that we want to answer live.
We have a question about the page analytics overlay. How do you get the icon to appear in the menu?
Yeah, it's starting the release, like we mentioned. And if you have the roles, the required roles, then you will see this icon automatically. You don't need to enable it or something.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, there's a second question about how do you set up what shows in the page analytics overlay, and that's already provided out of the box. We have a question about, are there events available for workspaces currently? And the answer to that is yes, there are absolutely out of the box events available in all of the different workspaces, but we don't have documentation on what those events are, at least not comprehensive documentation.
Great.
So we have one person asking about how do I get out of the box events installed? And the answer to that is that they are installed with your application. So
Yeah,
if
it is automatically.
yeah, it is
sorry.
automatic. Yeah. So if a user is having an issue not seeing events in when they're trying to create funnels, I think, and Stav, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe potentially events may not show up if they have not been performed in the application.
Yes.
Is that true
yes.
for funnels? Yeah.
Yes,
So
only
if
events
you
that were triggered.
yeah.
Samantha, just want to add on to that. Maybe the kind of filters they are selected at the top, like the date range or some other filters like country or so, that might filter those events out. So if they can increase the date range or remove some of the filters, then it will help you to fetch the rest of the events.
Yeah, that's a great point. So potentially that event has been fired in your application, but maybe it's not within the date range that you have selected. However, I've noticed whenever I am doing this in a test environment and I don't have a lot of usage data collected, then you don't always get the full range. So we did have another question in here about should you be configuring this in your production environment? And for most users, we do see that to be the case, that they are configuring funnels and cohorts in production because that's where the usage data lives.
Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we also added here our useful resources. Some of it are stuff that we talked about during our session. Some of it are actually our documentation that you can view as well. Of course, Sharon will post it, so you will be able to access it.
Have a beautiful day, and thank you again.